write anything. They won't even let me write a check. No?
I bet you could if you had to.
Okay, today is the 14th of March, 2012. We are at Bud's Tire and Wheel, interviewing Bud Perry of 701 West College. That's Perry, P-E-R-R-Y, in Springfield, Missouri. And interviewing will be David Winkler and Tommy Pike of the Route 66 Association of St. Louis, Missouri. Whenever you want to start.
Bud, you've been at this location how many years?
Well, we've been here over 50 years, yeah. Sure have, yeah.
50 years.
Yeah.
You've seen quite a few changes in that.
Quite a few changes, yes, sir.
Was it always a tire store or wheel store?
Yeah, we started out selling, I was one of the first ones that ever started selling wheels here in Springfield. And it got to where I was keeping more at my house than I was anyplace else, and so we started looking for a place to get a store, and so we ended up with this one right here. Joe M. Hayes helped me get this place here.
And so the business, when you started, was mostly tires, and you started doing the wheels.
Now, we started the wheels first.
You did the wheels first,
yes,
okay.
And then I raced for a period there, and then got into selling the racing tires, which we still sell race tires here on the old Route 66 right here. And that's why we kind of picked this spot. It's pretty nice. A lot of businesses have been down through here, but they're all gone now. Moved to the south.
Yeah. So has your business changed significantly? What has changed in your business over these last
Well, it's
years?
got the wheels and tires, and they've changed just like the automobiles has, you know. They got more modern, updated and everything, and
Cost more?
cost a lot more, you bet you.
Do you have to get any new equipment?
Oh yeah. Every year we have to update our equipment just about to keep up with the new stuff that's coming out and everything. All your new cars now, the tires and things, it's got sensors in all the tires just about, and you got to be up to date on all that stuff to keep the cars going.
Yeah. Do you do any other? Do you do inspections or just the tires?
No sir, no sir.
Just tires and stuff.
Yes.
Did you first start, did you sell gas or anything, or you never
No,
were into
just
the
always,
gas?
Always in tire and wheel business,
Yeah.
yes.
When did you do the mural?
That
The mural
was
on the side.
2001, I believe, is when we did that, yeah.
And did you pick the theme?
Pretty much, yeah. A lot of them pictures of them old cars and everything was some of the old cars that I had pictures of and everything.
And the Three Stooges?
Well, I just love the Three Stooges, I guess, you know, and it worked out pretty cool, yeah.
Didn't really have anybody in mind. Yeah.
Well, there's Three Stooges working here, me and my boys, I guess.
Do people refer to your store by the mural sometimes?
Sometimes, yes, they do. They really do.
There's a
yeah.
place you can get tires, it's the one that's got the mural on the wall. Do they do that kind
Yeah,
of
that
thing?
is true, yeah. We have several people come here and they say, well, we found the place by just looking at the mural, you know.
That's great. What changes have you noticed on the street, on the Route 66 route? I mean, you said businesses have come and gone. What other kind of changes have you noticed in your 50 years here?
Well, when we first here, there was a lot of the old car people was down the street right here. Gale Cable, Chrysler, Plymouth was right down the street here, and there was a Cadillac agency and several others. Tommy, you probably remember some of them too.
Douglas Olds was
Yeah.
just right on the other side here behind the Brown Derby
That is true, yeah.
in the early 60s. And in fact, I was trying to think where they went when they left there. In fact, that was a Rambler. Then that was a Rambler dealer.
I
for a
believe you're
while.
correct, yeah. See, all those people all moved to the other side of the square on the east side, and Thompson's, and they built down there, and then Terrell Phelps was down there, and then Flaney Dukowitz went over on Boonville Street.
Yeah. Then they become Fellini Mayfield,
That is correct, yes.
and that was in the early 60s. And then, the early 70s, through the 70s, most of them went out on South Camel.
Yeah, Central Dodge was down on St. Louis Street and National right there.
Yeah.
And
They went.
they went over on West Sunshine. So we lost a lot of the car agency business and everything. Of course, a lot of them still trade with us and everything, but not like when they was right here close to us.
Why did they all move?
Well, the town all moved south. Seems like they started with the new mall out there and everything, and most of the traffic was going that way. You know, back then, the city limits was Sunshine Street right there. And now then, I guess city limits now is almost Nixa, I guess, now.
It's way out past Republic Road, we call it, or M Highway.
That is
so
true.
It's,
Well, we're not from here, so I don't,
Oh, okay.
I don't know all of that. That's why I asked the question.
yeah.
Yes.
Do any work with motorcycles or the larger trucks? Because obviously they all came through
No,
this
we
area at
don't
one
get
point.
into that. We're mostly a specialty shop.
Okay.
We
No
really are.
motorcycles.
Used to have a motorcycle shop right down the street here from us right here, and we took care of their tires and wheels and everything. They went to Kansas City, and
Okay.
one of the boys went to work for the railroad.
So your tires are more for somebody who wants something different, special that's not off the rack?
We're a specialty shop, yeah, and we handle.
How's
all
that work
spe-
in today's economy?
Pretty good.
Is
pretty
it?
good. There's kids still like that, and then old people too. They like
The old
to.
people?
Yeah. They like to have a sharp-looking car and a hot rod and things. All the car show people like to show their car, and they want the latest thing that comes out, and we try to keep up with all that.
If somebody's looking for something special and you don't carry it, do you go out and look for it, or?
Yes, we're hooked up with about all the wheel companies in the
Oh,
United
okay.
States. Yes. Yeah.
So how much have wheels changed?
Big time,
Big
big
time.
time. Used to it was 14s and 15s. You don't hardly see a 14, 15
Yeah.
anymore.
What
Now-
would you say is the biggest change in wheels? The size or the
Size
number
and
of sizes?
designs and all that and everything. Used to it was the Fenton and Krager and US Mag and everything like that. In fact, I think behind one of these murals over here is an old sign of that is painted on there by US Mags, which Pernell Jones started it out in California there.
All the tires U.S. made? I mean, all the wheels U.S. made?
No.
Half?
About half and
About
half,
half and
yeah.
half.
Mm-hmm.
You said you raced?
Yes,
You want to tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about that?
well, just a old boy thought I'd like to go around in a circle out here at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds out here, and I raced for Fisher's High Boy. It used to be drive-ins here in town and everything. In fact, there's a picture up there on the wall up there, that 48 up there. That's one of the cars we're fixing to rebuild it now. And we still got the Coca-Cola car. It's in the warehouse down behind down there.
So stock, modified?
Just stock,
Just
yes.
stock.
Yeah.
Now, what is 48? Is it a Chevrolet?
Yes, 63 Chevrolet Biscayne. That was a two-door post. At that time was the lightest car. It was lighter than a convertible. And why Chevrolet built them like that, I don't know, but that's what we always picked and everything.
How long did you do that?
Oh, for about 3 years, something like that, and then I got to testing tires for a good year, and then got to selling their tires, traveling around, took care of the USAC circuit for
Oh, wow.
for a while, and traveled all over the United States. And every time I was in California, I'd come back, I'd bring some wheels back, and I'd have more wheels in my garage at home. And I thought, well, that's a better deal selling these wheels than traveling all the time. So we started looking for a place to retail them and everything. Kids would come at my house at midnight and want to see a set of wheels, and I just got home and I wanted to sleep.
I imagine there are more people that sell tires than sell wheels. I mean, you can get tires at a lot of places, but
right,
you can't get
yeah.
wheels at a lot of places.
There's a lot of places opening up. Just a lot of the garages and stuff now are selling tires now and everything.
But not the wheels.
not the wheels, yeah.
The dealerships now are selling new tires.
Yes, uh-huh.
What's
yeah.
kind of bad though, they don't give any, I mean,
There's no
you
brake
buy
on
them,
it.
mount them and balance them and they're yours.
That is true, yes.
There's no,
It's a different deal when you deal with them, and we have trained a few of their people and everything on some of these new wheels. A lot of the wheels, used to you could always mount a wheel straight up. Now then, most of them you had to mount them from the back side, like this wheel sitting right here. You have to mount it from the back side, and you have to have a special tire machine to do it and everything. It's all clamp machine tire deal. It ain't like when I started, you had to break them down by hand or run over them with your car to break them down or something.
well, you was telling me the other day that due to the lead, they're making them change the wheel weights.
That is true. They're going to steel. Steel weights on them now, yeah.
Said used to where you just put a little old weight on there,
Yeah.
now you have to put 1/4 to half of the way around it because to get the weight, steel doesn't weigh what lead does.
That is true.
Will those rust?
No, but on an aluminum wheel, they will corrode underneath
Yeah.
the wheel. They very will, yeah.
So you solve one problem, create another one.
That is true, yes.
And you have to what, digital balance your wheel and
Right,
tires mounted together and everything now where
Yeah.
I imagine you used one of them that you jack the car up on the front, run that machine in there and spin it on the car, or did you
I
ever
never
have one?
did use one myself, I mean, here at the shop or anything, but I have used them at other guys' shop just to see what they're like and everything. But we static balance most everything. Don't have any problem with these big wheels, you know.
Yeah.
They go all the way up to 30-inch tall wheels now. The most popular is about the 20-inch wheel right now. Your Dodges and Chevrolet, some of the Fords now are all coming out from the factory with 20-inch wheels on them now.
Especially those crossovers and SUVs. All
Yes,
those, yeah.
Bigger tires, a
Expensive.
little rougher riding, but the people like them. It's good look, and
Your customers mostly Springfield, coming from all around.
come from all around.
How far? What's the farthest away customer you have?
Probably,
California, New
I'd
York?
say Canada was.
Canada.
They were down here at Branson, Missouri, and somebody down there told them about us, and they had to come by and see an old tire shop, and they stopped in here and they took a set of wheels back to Canada with them.
Wow. Any celebrities?
Loretta Young, no, not Loretta Young, Loretta. Yeah, Loretta Lynn down there. You have to correct me on that right there.
She's a little younger than Loretta Young.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry on that. Dew was her husband's name. He drove them Dodge pickups, and he was up here quite a bit. He'd come up here and get wheels. He liked to go down there in the parking lot when they had the theater at Branson, do some burnouts down there. He was quite a guy.
Well, burnouts are your best friend, aren't they?
Who?
Burnouts are your best friend.
Oh, you bet. You bet. Yeah, that's what the guys say when every time they see a guy spin out here at the stoplight out here, spin their tires, they say, well, there's money.
That's
Money for somebody.
Yeah, it's true.
You, do you get some of the Route 66 travelers now coming through needing a tire or something?
Yes, we do. They're good customers. Yeah, a lot of good people on Route 66, and then we, of course, I think set the deal up for the travel deal that comes through here once a year
Yeah.
and everything. And we
Then,
kind of help host that a little
yeah.
bit.
And then the daughter came down and talked to Mike, your son, about if somebody has a flat on a motorcycle. He said, well, you could probably fix the flat, but he couldn't take the wheel off and
That
do
is
it.
true,
That it
yes.
didn't have a motorcycle jack, but he'd try to help him. You can't get a motorcycle tire fixed just any place.
That is true, yeah.
Well, I guess the back meat got the chain. And
Yeah.
like
Well,
a bicycle,
the
you
motorcycle tires are different too, and you notice how wide they're getting now and everything. And of course, they got the choppers and all that new stuff that's come along, and you just watch TV and see how much everything is changing.
I like your place at night.
Well, thank you.
Driving by at
We're
night
kind
yeah.
of old school. Yeah, some of the salesmen that come from California, they stop at businesses all the way through, and I said, well, I'm gonna kind of change this place, make it more modern on some days. And they said, oh no, don't do this. He said, it's always fun to come here and look at an old school tire shop instead
the
of
lights-
something new.
Yeah, the lights at night are, you know,
Well,
you can't drive down College without seeing this
Well,
at night. It
yeah,
doesn't work.
thank you, I appreciate that.
I don't need any tires right now, but
Well, we can fix you up, you bet you.
Well, and I would imagine your kind of business, one is word of mouth, two is reputation. But do you get a lot of drive-by, people just driving by and notice it, or people come here as a destination? They need something
Yeah,
and they
we get a
look you
lot
up.
of drive-bys.
Do you get some
yes,
drive-by
we do,
business?
Yeah, and then there's a lot of people that's got a specialty tire or something like that that have trouble out on the highway, and
Right.
most of the record services around town here, they'll get them over here somehow
Oh,
to
okay.
us, and we'll help them out and everything. And,
Well, that's a nice connection.
yeah.
so you basically try to stock tires that, like Goodyear or those kinds of stores may or may not. want to
We
deal with,
got
yeah.
most of those tires, yeah, but we don't stock them as much as they do.
Right.
We have a tire that's more specialized in what they have and everything, like 18s, 19s, 20s, 22s and stuff. And
Are
Hey.
those tires over there?
there's you a big one right there, yeah.
Now, if I was gonna buy a set of two of
I'm
those.
missing something.
the
You talking about
tire-
this thing?
Right here, yeah. What would a set of two of those?
Those are the big ones right there. You're gonna be close to $500 on
Each.
two of them, yeah.
Yeah.
$250 each?
Yeah, right at it.
Well, that's not as bad as I thought they'd be.
Yeah, that's what you call a drag radial. It's street legal, but still they can use it on a drag strip too.
And then you have to have the wheels to go with it.
There's where we
That's
get you.
My brother's got 20-inch tires on his 2009 Traverse,
Yes,
and one tire went bad, and he couldn't get the 20-inch. He tried to go to a Chevy dealer, and I forgot where he wound up, but they cost him about $1,200 for 4 tires.
yes,
And that's just for a standard road car. I mean, it's not anything special. It's not us. But apparently that size tire, I don't know if it was Michelin or what it was, but that size 20-inch tire was not as easy to get a hold of. Just a lot of places didn't have it.
A lot of your tires now are directional and made for that. I mean, if it comes off the right front, you have to buy the tire that goes on the right front.
that is true, yes,
Yeah.
They-
That's the way with these sensors it's got in it tells you tire pressure and everything.
Are those a pain
It's
in the
gotta
neck
go
to
right
mess
back
with?
to the same spots, yeah.
Are those a pain to work with?
You gotta know what you're doing, you sure do, yes.
Yeah, it's nice. Except in that Honda Pilot I got, one tire, there's something wrong with the sensor. Every time you turn around, I'm sitting there putting air in the tire, and then the other tire, and I don't know what was going. Finally bought 4 new tires, and I didn't have a problem anymore. So it could have been
That gentleman's
the
trying to, excuse me.
The
tire. They can come in here.
everything is specialized anymore. I mean,
Yes, seeing a lot of cars coming out right now that are what they call a stagger fit. They'll have like an 18-inch tire on the back and a 16-inch on the front.
new cars are coming out that way.
Excuse me. Yes.
So they raked.
Since
Yeah,
you
the-
started the business, is the life expectancy of a tire better or worse than it was 50 years ago, 60 years ago?
It's about the same. They still make, the 40,000. It's price-wise what you want to go with and everything. You can get a 40,000 mile tire, you can get a 60,000 mile tire or something. You just have to pick out
Yeah, a
what
little
you
bit
want
more,
to do.
yeah.
The more mileage you get, the higher price it gets.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
But the tires back in the 50s weren't as good as the ones we have today, are they?
No, they
No.
were bias belted, yes. Now we've got the radials and everything.
Right.
I bought that '54 Chevy, and it had bias ply tires on it. You know,
Yes,
they were
uh-huh.
Coker or whatever it is, you know, they were, and I think I drove it about a week before I went on the phone to Coker and said, I need a couple of radials on this.
Right.
You have no idea how bad those tires were. They weren't then.
Well,
What you're used to now,
yeah, they had a
all over the road.
nylon and a bias belted tire. If you'd let it set a week or something like that, you had a flat spot on it, you know. And you'd have to go down the road several miles, get that flat spot wore out,
Right.
you know.
yeah, especially in
Round
the
it
winter.
out, yeah.
Especially in the wintertime.
Well,
That is true.
The radial tires, steel belted radial tires, I've been told that about 5 years is the life of them, because if they get wet, they'll start rusting, or even if they don't, they start rusting, and that's what makes them separate.
That is, yeah, that is. I think there's some lobbyists now up in Washington right now that they're trying to, of course, every tire, you can look on them, you can tell when they were made and everything. And the way they're talking, that you ain't gonna be able to drive a tire that's over 6 years old now. And so that's a new thing our government's starting
Good
to
for
think
you.
about.
It's good for you.
Well, yeah, but the poor person, it's kind of tough on them, you know, that don't drive too much and everything.
My father's got a 6-year-old car and he's got about 12,000 miles. I mean, somebody like him who drives to church and the store in his garage,
Yeah,
that would be a tough thing to handle.
yeah,
Just because it's 6 years old, you know, there's nothing wrong with the tires, but
yeah, that's
gonna
something
change
that's something they're debating right now, so what to do about that.
they're out there to help you.
I have a car, and I had a new set of tires on it, and I had one come apart on the interstate, and the tires looked virtually brand new, and boy, it just disintegrated. So I got to the next little town and went in and told the old boy I needed a set of tires, and anyway, he got them there, and I said, boy, them tires haven't lasted very long. And he said, how old are they? And I said, 8 to 10 years old. He said, they're past due. He said, 6 years, 5 to 6 years is the max. Well, I got my book out where I write everything down. Them tires are 17 years old, but they still look brand new. And the one that come apart didn't lose the air, but it just run the tread off of it. It runs smooth going down the road about 30 miles, well, 40 for the interstate, but it just literally looked like brand new tread off of it.
That's where your steel and your rubber separated
Rated.
on it, yeah.
I did have a question, I may have missed it earlier. What got you to locate right here?
Well, I'd like to say the man who's in the real estate business, of course, he's gone now, and I think Joe M. Hayes, he found this spot. He found 2 spots here, this one and one out on Glenstone, and he's a pretty smart real estate man, and he said, you want to stay right here on account of this is where all business is right here. You got the square, they're going to redo the square down there, which you don't know, but Pike does there. They redid the square about 4 times, I think, since
Yeah.
I've been here, and it still looks about the same. Except you go around in circles instead of straight through it now.
What was this building before you?
Well, it was, I guess years ago, it was probably started out as a service station, which probably faced the east back then and everything, but
I think it was a DX gas station.
something like that, yeah.
So you added this,
Oh, yeah, I've had it all,
Section
yeah, I've
here,
built
yeah.
all this on, yes.
right?
The bay, are the bays still the same, or Did you-
It was just one bay back
One
here,
bay.
yeah.
So you had a second bay, but basically
Yeah,
it
and then
was
the
facing the
big
mural.
building back behind, we built on back there, yes.
Where the mural is where the
That's all,
original
that's all
station,
new, yeah, that was done back in the 80s or something like that, I think.
You warehouse all your tires here?
Yes, yeah. But not right there, we got 2 warehouses back behind, back
Okay.
on Olive Street back
Gotcha.
there,
yeah. This is the showroom.
yeah. Yeah, sitting here at the shiny wheels, yes.
do you sell much to like dealers now. I know years ago, you know, they'd get a new car and they'd like come and get the wheels changed on it or something, set it on the showroom. Do they still do that, or?
Not as much as they used to. Used to, we did quite a bit of that, you know. We'd fix one up and they'd set it on the showroom floor, and a lot of times they'd sell it over the weekend because that's what somebody seen. They liked it and they bought it.
Just enough different than
Yeah.
the regular car.
Right.
And yeah, I came down here and talked to you about the 14-inch tires, and getting 14-inch tire anymore is non-existent. And the 13's even worse than that. And
Yeah, there's a lot of cars that's still running on the road that use them.
Yeah.
Saturns and a lot of those that,
Well, myself, I don't know, but they're downsizing some of the cars, and then, of course, the trucks are getting bigger and everything, but a lot of the get gas mileage with our gas getting so high and everything right now, they're downsizing some of these cars to get better gas mileage, so they're gonna have to lower the tires and not have such a big tire on them, I think. Kind of go back to the old style, I think. Things kind of run in a cycle, seems like, too, you know, if you notice, you know.
the one I'm glad they got rid of is that one that I don't see any of them in here. They must really be out of stock. Them that had the center that would spin, and when they'd stop, it'd keep going.
Keep on spinning, yeah.
And those things, if a guy come up to the corner and stopped and you was headed down the street
You
and
think
it's
he was
still
still
turning,
moving?
you thought he was still coming out, you know. And I was kind of glad them went away. Cause
Yeah, that was kind of a dangerous thing. A lot of them would come off and hit other cars and stuff like that.
Now, your son works here?
Yes,
He's planning on continuing,
I hope so, yes.
keep it for another 60 years?
Yeah. I was up here doing it, and when he was in diapers and everything, and that's about all he's done is this right here, yes.
does he race?
No.
he's now, like when you started here, everything was, I guess you'd say manual. To break a tire down, you had to break it by hand,
yes,
and you
yes,
had to pry it off by hand and everything. And now, well, when I was here the other day, he used the machine, just laid the wheel on there, and it come up and grabbed it and popped it loose, and then broke the top down and all, and that was.
They got some good machinery out right now and everything. When I guess the reason I kind of got into the tire business when I was in high school, the truck harbor that was out on the bypass, and they called it 66 right there back then, but now they call it 266 or something like that. They'd save the truck tires there, and when I'd get out of school, I'd go out there and fix the truck tires every night. Sometimes I'd fix a dozen, sometimes they wouldn't have any, sometimes they'd have one and everything. And I did the truck tires and did all those for them.
Yeah, that was the northwest corner of
Yes.
the bypass in 66.
Where
it was
there's Taco Bell and Come and
it's
Go
on
now
one-
and everything, yeah.
McDonald's is on the southwest
Yes,
corner. Yeah. What kind of gas did they sell there? Barnsdall, or oil and stuff? I saw a picture of that corner, and I can't remember now what type of station it was, but
I'm wanting to say that is Jim Knight, and he sold Vickers, I think, back then. That's what I'm wanting to say is what it was.
And what was he, the Knight that had Knight Oil Company?
Yes,
The street's been widened since you've been here?
Yes,
Wide? Both of
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, both sides here it's been widened. Then they put up, yeah, I guess they was stoplight out. It was a center stoplight out there. Now
Yeah.
they got 4 stoplights out there now, I guess.
Yeah, you don't ever see those things in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah, when the wind blew, they'd swing back and forth.
that's right, yes.
That, yeah, the business up and down through here's changed you know, like you say, quite a bit. In fact, let me see, guessing less than Ford over there, Fellini Dukewitz, and then Fellini Mayfield. I guess most of the dealerships was up and down St. Louis and
College, yes. It was right along on the Route 66 right
Yeah.
here, because that's where everybody traveled and everything.
And if they had car trouble, they wanted to be able to duck in the dealership. And there were a few independent garages along there
Yes,
too. What was out there at Carl Potter's car lot, a fellow by the name of Fred Huxley had the garage in there at that car lot. And there were a number of just garages up and down through there,
Yeah.
car repair places.
Then right down the street right here was Herman Brownlow auto parts
Yeah.
store, and then over under the, I call it the bridge over there, kind of by the Shrine Mosque right there, it was Link Motor Supply,
Yeah,
and that's where the O'Reillys worked at, and then they thought they'd get into the parts business, and they went into the parts business, and they moved down on Sherman Street.
yeah.
Now O'Reilly's one of the biggest parts stores in the United States now.
That started here?
Yes,
Yeah.
started right here. Yeah, they worked at Link Motor Supply here in Springfield. Yes,
Chuck, what was Chubb or Charles
and,
O'Reilly, the old?
Charles, and see, there's another one right there. I can't think right now. It caught me off guard here, but yeah, I could. In fact, I did a lot of. When tire machines first come out, they'd have me come down there and demonstrate for them, and they'd sell them to garages and things like that. And we still do quite a bit of business with them. They do business with me and everything.
O'Reilly does.
O'Reilly, yes, they're good people. They really are.
And then up there, well, across from Thompson, Pontiac Cadillac was the Firestone store.
Firestone, and that was a recap store, yes, And I was, like I say, a little kid running around. Well, I wasn't a kid, like I say, he was one of the changing those tires, things for the truck harbor out there. I'd pick up some old nylon tires or something, go down there, and they'd put what you call a top cap on. And I'd get 7.5 or something like that, and I'd do some work for them, and they'd trade it out with me, you know.
What was a top cap?
Top cap goes right along the top of the tire. It didn't wrap around the tire or anything. The full cap went all the way around the side, and the top cap. In fact, some of your tractor trailer units nowadays, of course, they can just use them on the trailers. They can't use them on a steering tractor on them. They'll use a top cap. Bandag out here
That's
does
what you
that.
find laying on the highway.
That's what you see along the highway. They get hot and come off. That's right.
Now the full cap turned way down on the side.
Yes.
And, yeah, as a recap.
Yeah.
Top caps.
Went right along the top.
What do you do with the old tires? When somebody comes in and says, I need a new set, keep my old ones. What do you do with them?
They go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They recycle them down there. In fact, they called today and said they send a trailer down to get them, and
Do
they're
you give them away? Do
making.
you sell them? Do you charge the customer?
Yes, we had to charge
A
the
disposable
customer
fee?
Disposal fee. Yes,
and so
then
Tulsa
we-
comes with a truck, and they don't give you any money for the tires?
no, we had to pay them.
You got to pay them to take them
Yes,
out.
same amount. Yes, and they take them out there, and they're making they grind them into a pulp,
Right.
like, and then they're making park benches and chairs and stuff like that you see around some of
Playground
these
floors, too. a lot.
Yes,
Tracks, they use them in the asphalt on.
High school tracks.
Rest,
and
And a lot of the football fields, they put it underneath the turf and everything, and I guess on baseball fields too, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
on that, but-
the Rams stadium, the indoor stadium, has a surface. It's like a carpet they roll out, but it's made from old tires.
Yes.
And every once in a while, you'll see somebody who's making a cut, and you'll see the dust and things from these old rubber things come flying up in the air. And
Goodrich and Michelin.
Yeah,
come
yeah.
flying.
Oh,
Not
everything,
quite.
yeah.
And you have to pay, what do you have to pay per tire? $1 to get rid of a tire? or
$3 a tire.
$3 a tire to get rid of them.
Yes,
So So they're getting free product that they then rebuild.
Right. Of course, they got a tractor trailer unit, and 2 or 3 guys will be in the truck when they come over here and get them and things.
And they're probably picking them up from other places besides you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now, I don't know what true it is, but up east in the United States, they're burning some of them. They got the fillers and all that stuff, the filler, the smoke stuff. They're burning the tires up there for energy, like we're using coal down
Right.
here and everything. And
So somebody comes in and buys 4 new wheels. What do you do with the old wheels?
most of them keep them, and when they resell the car, they'll put the old ones back on, or they sell them. And a lot of them now are scrapping the old wheels. Scrap wheel stuff, they still bring money down at the scrap yard and stuff like that, and an aluminum wheel bring more.
So most of them take them with them.
Yeah,
They don't
it's
leave
like
them
the
here.
body shops. If they get a car in and the wheel's been busted or something, they want it back because they scrap it themselves, you know, and they'll get $15, $20 out of that
Okay.
old busted wheel, you know.
Well, it's, the automotive world has changed a lot then, hasn't it?
It's changing every day. It sure is. Yes.
Yeah, I was just telling Dave, I said, you know, when I was a kid, you went and you bought a Chevy. Now you gotta pick what brand of Chevy you're gonna buy.
That's right.
And it was Ford, Chrysler, and Chevy. And now it's Honda, Toyota, Kia, and
Et cetera,
Hyundai,
et cetera.
et cetera, et cetera.
Just
yeah.
just keeps you
And
going.
they have multiple
Yes.
models, so it's,
And some of those models their parts are not interchangeable within the Chevy.
That's
They're not
right.
interchangeable.
It's getting where if you got a brand new car now, the poor guy down there that's a single garage man, he can't work on that car. You got to take it back to the dealership and get the high dollar
Yep.
tech thing to work on it. And that boy's they've sent him to school to learn all that stuff, and that's the way you get it fixed nowadays.
I had a car to get a state inspection, and the mechanic that I knew, I was talking to him, and he said, "What kind is it?" And I told him. He said, "Okay, that's fine." I can't remember what he had. I think it was a GMC or a Yukon or something. That in order to reset the tire pressure thing, they had to go through a whole series of steps, and I can't remember it may not have been a Yukon. You might know what it is, but they couldn't just do the tires. They had a trigger mechanism. They had to call GMC because they weren't a dealer. They weren't really willing to give them the information of how they had to reset it. So the guy's coming in to get his car serviced to pass inspection, couldn't get it completely serviced right. And doing that really makes the little guy tend to lose business. He's going to go out of
true.
business.
The little man is on the hurt right
Yeah.
now. There they are.
Like you were saying, every year or two, you have to get new equipment to work on the newer cars. And I was talking to a guy that's an independent garage owner, and he's pretty good. I mean, he has a good business and everything. But we were talking about something on a 2-year-old car, and he said, "Well, I haven't bought the machine yet to diagnose that car." And I said, "Well, don't they make something that will hook up to the machine that you bought the
Nope.
year before or something?" And he said, "Believe it or not, you'd think they would, but they don't." And he said, "What's bad, that machine I've got will go, I forget what years, from that one back. This new one will go from the current model back about 2 or 3 years." I said, "So in other words, this new machine isn't going to work back as far as that?" And he said, "No, you end up having to keep it all." Because he said, "You can't buy a machine that does it all clear back."
So you want to be the
Diagnostic.
company that sells the machines.
And he said, "I'm really just holding off on this one because this newest one," because he said they're 2-year-old cars, and he said, "I really figure most of them still under warranty." And he said it's going to be another year or two before they come out of warranty, and then people's going to start coming back
yeah,
to me.
Yeah,
and that's true. I mean, you got
yeah.
a 5-year warranty on a lot of cars,
Yes.
so the dealer's gonna get the business, which I'm sure they like. Except I had my cousin was in automotive financing down in Miami, And he was saying one of the biggest problems that like Honda and Toyota and that have is there isn't enough repair business. That the cars don't need that, and most of them don't anymore. They don't go back in that often except for an oil, or they try to sell you a air filter or a, hydrophonic filter that's filtered out. In other
Yep.
words, they're looking for all these little extra things to do, because basically they're not fixing the car.
A
But
$40,
that's not you.
That's right, you're right, you
The
bet.
car still wears out.
a $40 cab filter. I had a Buick, and the old boy said, "Oh, you need to change your cab filter." And I looked at him and I said, "Cab filter?" I said, "I don't own a cab." And he said, "No, your cabin filter, the interior," said, "in your heater, there's a filter and it has to be changed and you're past due." And I said, "Well, I guess if I need it, what happened?" He said, "Well, you're not breathing fresh air."
We used to have to scrape the bugs off the screen on the pop-up vent, remember?
Yes.
Now
Yes.
you replace a paper filter.
Filter.
Well, it's like I say, it's getting to where you gotta take everything back to the dealerships on these brand new cars and everything. It's just like in NASCAR right now, you know, they're going to fuel injected. They don't have a carburetor on them. Old boys used to build an old car in the backyard and fix points, put a carburetor on it and do it all themselves. Now then, NASCAR can monitor that car while it's on the racetrack, see if you're using too much fuel or whatever. They can diagnose you right there in their thing and tell what they're doing and everything. If you've monkeyed with the engine or what, you know. They know how much fuel is going to each cylinder and everything.
Ethanol doesn't bother that,
No.
but it doesn't like my old carburetor.
No. And
And I don't have a choice.
no, and even these new cars with ethanol doesn't get the mileage that they do without it. I mean, I've checked that, and it just, you think, well, this gas is, you trade somewhere and you think, well, their gas is no good anymore, so you go up the street and maybe get a mile or two to the gallon. Well, in a couple of weeks, your mileage is right back down. I don't know, maybe the change in brands or something affects it a little bit, but your mileage will be off 3 or 4 miles to gallon, and what it amounts to, it's the ethanol or the ethanol content.
Right, yeah. The byproduct off of that is stopping up your Cadillac converter or something like that and killing your engine power and things, yeah.
And I thought the unleaded gas wasn't supposed to carbon up, and I've had 2 cars, and they quit running because they carboned up.
That is true.
And I, went back to dealer, and they said, "Oh, you need new plugs and everything," and
But now you go 100,000 miles before they put new plugs on a car.
Yes.
I mean, to my
Well,
knowledge.
and then another thing, my oldest son works on a few cars and things, and if you got to change the battery or something now, you got to know where that battery is at. It's a lot of them's under the back seat, and some of them you had to take 2 or 3 tires off to get to it or something. You don't know what you got to do to find
yeah.
certain parts you got to work on.
The Chevy Traverse is under one of the passenger seats. Their
There you go.
battery is.
Yeah.
Buick LeSabre was under the rear seat.
It's a little tricky to try to jump a car like that too.
Well, they've got a deal out front.
Yeah,
but-
if you know where it can find.
2
But-
little brass points up there if you need to jump it. And
But you need to be careful, because if you don't know what you're doing and you don't do
That's
it
right.
right,
You blow
you
up
blow up-
somebody in the back seat.
well, or you blow up the computer or something that's,
And that computer's getting bigger and bigger.
that's the new thing, computers
That
on
thing's
everything.
huge.
Well, Volkswagen always put the battery under the back seat.
well, I was looking at a new one. I didn't realize the battery wasn't under the hood anymore, and when I realized that, and a few years ago, I was looking at a car, and I asked the salesman, "Where's the battery?" And he said, "Oh, under the hood." So he raised the hood, and we looked, and
And
we
he couldn't
looked,
find
and
it.
we looked, and I said, "Oh boy, it must be little if it's under here, because I don't see it." And he said, well, that's where they put them. I said, no, they don't. There are other places now. Well, anyway, he had to go to the service department, and the old boy had to know what car it was, what model it was, and everything about it. And the service manager said, I'll come up there. And he followed him up there in a few minutes. And he said, well, I think it's right here. And it wasn't. And when they figured it out, it was clear down below everything. And the fuse panel and all was above that.
Right.
And you absolutely could not see that battery. And you had to disassemble half the car to get
When I have to replace my battery, they have to take the whole computer system
out.
The computer and all that stuff's on top of the battery. Now, you might be able to get it from underneath, I don't know, but from the top, you'd have to take all that computer, which means I can't do that. I mean, I don't know anything about cars, but I could replace a battery. I can't do that on this one.
No.
They don't want you to. They
Yep.
want you back to the dealership.
Yep.
That's what they.
And they want you to
That's-
have it hauled in so they can work on it.
That's the same way with a lot of the cars and everything. They got a jack there, but sometimes the newer cars don't come with a spare anymore.
None of them hardly
And-
do.
They call us to ask us where the jack's at and things like that, and a lug wrench and everything. Most of the time, it's hid under the seat
The
or
jack
under the
is.
floorboard. You know.
Well, of course, I bet most people don't keep their car much past warranty. And usually you get 800 service with your car. They'll come and tow you into the dealer free. So it almost makes AAA secondary or something.
Right.
But,
But you pay for that when you buy the
oh,
car, though.
well, of course you do. You,
Yeah, no freebies.
you pay for
right.
all the, you pay for the air in the tire, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
you bet,
So-
yeah.
Well, for the past several cars, I've extended the warranty on them. And the last one I had is the only one that I haven't come out way ahead on it for the warranty. The car before that, I had the warranty, and I had it traded off, and the transmission went out. And I went down to the dealer to get it fixed. And the bill was $2,750-some, and I said, boy, if this wasn't traded off, I'd just leave it with you. And he said, trade it off? I said, yeah, as soon as I hit town, I'm taking it out and giving it back to him. And I said, you want to know something? They only allowed me $5,500 on it, and I said half of it was for the transmission. And he looked funny. I said, I'd been better off than not had it fixed if I hadn't had the extended warranty, because, you know, that's just the way things are.
Yeah, we're sure living in a different world right now. We sure are.
Oh, what's sad is that car was 4 years old that I was trading in, and it listed for 20-some thousand, and it brought $5,500. It didn't bring a fourth of what it listed for
Yep.
in 4 years.
Yep.
Well, Bud, what would you like for us to make sure it's on the tape about your business or about your life on Route 66?
You just do whoever what you want to. It don't make a bit of difference to me.
No, it's
I-
all there. What haven't we asked you that you would like to make sure people down the road would know about?
Oh, just come and see us.
Come and see.
We're just home people, family people.
And it's a family business.
Yes, yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's
there's
really,
there's not too many of those left anymore.
That's right.
And you've made a living out of doing this.
That's what we've made, yeah. We haven't got rich or anything, but we've raised the kids, and we're still eating a little bit.
Well, and you know, there's something like this, your Walmart stores and such as that is, and the chain tire stores like the Goodyear and Firestone, they always existed, but it seems like that Walmart and, well, Sears, they've always sold tires and such as that, but it seems like there's a lot of pressure anymore on the independent person anymore.
It is. It's tougher for a little man to get along and everything. I've been lucky that I kind of started in some of this stuff, and I learned the hard way. Some of it, what they call it, hard rocks or something. And then a lot of the Walmart stores, they was having troubles. They come and buy lug nuts from us and things, and they stripping them out. They didn't know how to put them on, and I had to go out there and train the boys how to put them on. They just stick them in an air gun and throw it on there, and next thing you know, they're stripping the stud out, you know. You got to screw them on with your hand first, make sure they're on there straight before you put that pressure of air gun on, you know. And
You can cross-thread them real easy.
real easy.
Or you can set the pressure up and break them off when you
Yeah,
tighten them up.
That's true. And see, a lot of them now, we're getting away from 7/16 and a ½ inch, stuff like that. It's all metric now. It's
And smaller.
yeah, and the threads are thinner, and they'll strip out a lot quicker now too.
Huh. Hey, you was talking about Herman Brownlow's down here. Well, just up in the next block was old, up until just a few years ago, was old Waltz Gear and Axle. And
Yes.
he was an independent parts dealer.
Yes,
And I
Yeah.
mean, when he got where he couldn't do it anymore, why he closed the door and sold a lot of stuff. But I mean, there's not many. Well, I only know of really one independent parts dealer in Springfield now. The rest of them are O'Reilly's and
Are there any other guys that
Models
sell
on.
wheels? That
Oh
specialize
yes,
in wheels?
there's about everybody can get wheels now and everything where they're on.
I mean,
the
the
wheel.
specialty wheels that you got, is there any other business in Springfield that does
Oh
what
yes,
you do?
yes. There's some around. They sell the wheels, but a lot of them don't know exactly how to install them and stuff like
Okay.
that. And they bring them over here, and I think they put on about 2 or 3 sets today that they bought off
Someplace
of
else.
the internet or something like that, and nobody knowed how to put them on, so
Right.
they brought them over here, and the boys they put them on for them. You know.
and didn't have the particular tire changers
That
and all
is-
to do that.
That is true. Yes. You got to keep up with the stuff that changes, new stuff. And,
Yeah.
And every year they'll come out with a different wheel, and it takes a different tool. I used to make a lot of my own tools and everything, and I said, well, this tool don't look like it'd work, so I'd go out here and get me an old tire tool of some kind, cut it off, and weld onto it, and grind it down, and make it the way I wanted it, you know. We used it. In fact, we're still using some of them out there.
But then some of them you got to buy them to make them work.
That is
too.
true. It goes with the tire machine, yes.
Always something.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Good interview.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
We
Well,
enjoyed it. It's probably the most fascinating place we've done an interview.
Oh, I don't think
Oh,
so.
it is by far. You
I'm
have
just-
no idea.
I'm just, like I say, just sorry, I'm kind of ill today, but we've got to go get fixed up and pay these doctors, you know, keep them in business. You know.
They might want to buy a set of wheels.
That's it.
We have sold several of the doctors and things, wheels and everything.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you
we
very
appreciate
much.
it.
Appreciate you.